rolls on into the final half hour of our second day, two-day broadcast here live. Fairs hold their feet to the fire, Radio Row. And this is a topic I'd love to spend 2 hours on, which is why I was so pleased that I could get here on the program. Dale Wilcox, Executive Director of the Immigration Reform Law Institute. There's so many questions I have. Dale, welcome to the Schilling Show.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right, so I want to start out by talking about constitutional guidance for immigration law, because I just don't think enough people understand what the connection is. Like, how could the Constitution possibly foresee what we're dealing with right now? So let's talk about how specific the Constitution is when it comes to immigration law and how much is gray area.
Yeah, sure. The U.S. Constitution actually gives the Congress the authority to regulate immigration, specifically. It's in the Constitution. And they draft laws and they determine what our immigration policy is going to be. And the executive, the president, has to enact those laws or enforce those laws. And we've seen the president try to do that here, but he's being sued at every turn.
Yes. This is the great concern that I have, is that if the president has the authority to do these things, and we could go down the line on what they are, but like you said, every single time somebody files a lawsuit or multiple lawsuits immediately, and the president is stymied by activist judges.
Yes, absolutely, yes, and that's what's occurring. And he's not advocating for new law. He is actually enforcing the law that's been on the books for many years that has not been enforced. The powers that he has to, say, for instance, expedited removal. I won't get too far in the weeds, but Congress wrote into the law that if someone enters the country within a 2-year period and nationwide, if they find you, they can remove you quickly without going before an immigration judge. They can just serve you papers and you're out of here. Well, that law has never been fully implemented. It was only it was half-heartedly implemented by prior administrations. In fact, they narrowed it down so much. If you were found 14 days, not 2 years, 14 days after entry, within 100 miles of the border, they could expedite your removal. Well, President Trump has said here recently, no, we're going to implement this law as written by Congress. Entire nationwide, within 2 years, you're out of here. And he's being sued. They're challenging that. It's black letter law, and they're challenging it. So there's nothing he can do right in their eyes. But they have a purpose. They have a mission. They are just trying to stop all removals from the country, including criminal aliens, which is really troublesome to us.
Well, it is, and it should be to everybody. Unfortunately, there are people embracing the lawlessness and criminality. We're talking with Dale Wilcox, Immigration Reform Law Institute. You have a report here on sanctuary communities, and now, of course, we have sanctuary states. This is sickening to me, and I fled California as a political refugee over 20 years ago and came to Virginia. But I'm well aware of this issue going way, way, way back to the 1980s. And so to see what's happening today, I don't understand how this survives in the courts. Has this ever been challenged in court, the whole concept?
Well, interesting you bring that up. There is actually a lawsuit right now. The United States government has sued California when they, just a couple of years ago, implemented this new sanctuary law. The U.S. government stepped up under Trump and sued them. That's currently working its way through the courts. Of course, it's an unfavorable jurisdiction where this case was brought, the Ninth Circuit. We all know about the Ninth Circuit. And the lower court found against Trump in the administration, and then the Ninth Circuit likewise found against Trump in the administration. And we're at the point now where the administration is seeking, petitioning this U.S. Supreme Court to review the case. And we're confident that we're going to get a good ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court, which we have on the travel ban. That was upheld by the Supreme Court. And just 2 weeks ago, by a vote of 7-2, believe it or not, some of the liberals came over and voted with the conservatives to uphold some of President Trump's new asylum regulations that he's implemented. Specifically, if you traverse through Mexico, you have to stop in Mexico and seek asylum there first.
You can't just come straight to the United States. Yes.
Exactly. You've got to go back there and apply for asylum. If they deny you, then we'll consider it.
So if this is successful at the Supreme Court level, Dale Wilcox, what would change? How would this affect what's going on day to day with California, but many other communities across the country?
Well, first of all, another one of the cases that I failed to mention was the border wall case. That's gone to the Supreme Court, and they challenged President Trump using Department of Defense money to build the wall. We won that, and that money was released. So there you have, they're actually down there building the wall right now, which is going to make a big difference. The asylum case that I mentioned, that's going to make a huge difference, because as it is right now, the word has gotten out. All you have to do is come to our border and allege credible fear of persecution, and we'll let you in. We'll release you into the interior and give you a hearing date, and they never show up. And it's proven that asylum, the approval rates for asylum is something like 11%. Only 11% of people win their case. Most of these people coming across are economic migrants. You know, they're just looking for better jobs. But that's not a grounds for asylum under our law. So changes are being made. And in fact, because President Trump has clamped down, in May, the number of inadmissible aliens that came across the border was 144,000.
Wow.
That's the ones that were caught. They've always traditionally said we only catch 1 in 4. 144,000 came across in May. The number has dropped to 66,000 last month. So the policies the president has implemented are actually working.
I want to go to what I would call the fallacy of birthright citizenship and see if you agree. I've done some reading and saw the people that actually were discussing the 14th Amendment as it was being put together, and they never intended for this to happen. Is that a proper interpretation?
It's not a proper interpretation to say that anybody born here automatically gets citizenship.
Right.
That is not what that provision was for.
Yeah.
We know what it was for. After the Civil War, the Reconstruction Amendments, that was added to give citizenship to former slaves. It was not intended for how it's being abused today, that if you can reach our soil and have a baby, that baby is a citizen automatically. No, that's not the intended purpose.
So why are we where we're at right now with this, and everyone's pretending that this is quote-unquote the law, and we're just all pretending as if, you know, we know the emperor has no clothes, but that the clothes are beautiful?
Yeah, I've heard that through friends in the administration, they are actually working on a regulation to clamp down on this birthright citizenship. And as soon as that happens, there will be a lawsuit.
Immediate.
And this case will work its way to the Supreme Court. And finally, we will get the authoritative interpretation of this clause. So that'll be done. Hopefully this will be resolved soon.
All right, there's another one that I want to go to here, and this one seems just patently ridiculous, that the president and his administration could not get the citizenship question on the census.
Yeah.
This is how we apportion congressional representation. I don't want California getting represented more to Virginia because they have more illegal aliens, so they get more congressional representatives. It seems like a perverse incentive to break the law.
Oh, it is. It's totally unfair. Illegal aliens are being counted in the census, and for apportionment purposes, that means California gets more seats in the House of Representatives. It also means they get more electors, and we saw how important that was in the last election. And then states who are have a disproportionate low number of illegal aliens, like Alabama, are losing representatives. In fact, even though the Supreme Court ruled that the president couldn't include a census question on the questionnaire that will be going out for 2020, there is a case working its way through the courts in Alabama. And the state of Alabama and Mo Brooks has sued the administration. And for technical reasons, that's who they had to sue. And they are alleging they've been injured because they're going to lose a seat, and that illegal aliens should not be counted for apportionment purposes. That case, a very important case, actually got by a motion to dismiss here recently. First time ever. Now, my organization brought a similar case back in the late 70s. We brought another one trying again in the late 80s, and we were thrown out of court on motion to dismiss. They said we didn't have injury, we didn't have standing, even though we sued on behalf of several states.
Right.
This is important. We finally have gotten a ruling. We've gotten by the motion to dismiss stage, and the court is going to decide the merits of the case. And we're in a favorable jurisdiction circuit. So we're hoping that we will get a ruling from a court that it is unconstitutional to count illegal aliens.
Wow, that would make all the difference in the world. So let me ask you, because I'm not sure I understand correctly, or maybe I learned something that I didn't know. Is this question actually going on the census, the citizenship question?
No.
It's not.
It's been on our census until recently.
Yes.
That question has been on our census since 1820. All of a sudden, the Supreme Court, sadly, because we were there was a conservative justice who voted with the liberals.
Right.
Sadly, that question will not make it on the questionnaire.
I don't understand, though. Maybe you could help us in our remaining minute. Under what theory of law can you not ask that question in the United States of America?
Well, it's really a technical issue.
Okay.
They said the question's okay. It's just in order to we have the Administrative Procedure Act, and the government has to justify every action that it takes. And Roberts voted along with the liberals, saying that the government didn't justify why they wanted this question good enough for us under the APA.
Absolutely ridiculous. But we continue on. I'm so pleased for the work you're doing, the Immigration Reform Law Institute. Dale Wilcox, how can people get more information on your work?
Yeah, you can go to our website. It's IRLI.org. And we're on Facebook and Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @IRLI. That's early. IRLI Law.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to great things coming in the months and years ahead, and look forward to speaking with you again. Dale Wilcox, thanks for joining us on The Schilling Show.
Well, thanks for having me.